What's up, guys, and welcome to the second Patreon pick video of November. If you missed my first one a couple of weeks ago, I released my top 10 horror franchises. It was a very risky video to do because I know that's a very controversial opinion to have no matter what your answer is. And I decided, well, actually, my patrons decided, I don't know if they actually like me or not, that they wanted me to double down on that and do my top 10 horror villains as well. But I do like the fact that I get to do both because they are a nice little companion piece. Just because I love the series doesn't necessarily mean that's my favorite villain. Just because I love the villain doesn't necessarily mean that's my favorite series. So these lists are going to differ quite a bit. If you do want to join in on the fun with these Patreon picks, I have a whole bunch of different tiers, different perks over on my Patreon page. The link will be down below. Check that out if you decide that you want to pledge to this channel to help it out financially. It does keep the lights on quite literally around here, so I appreciate it. And you get to join in on things like picking videos once a month like this one. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and light this firecracker and start off at number 10 on my top 10 favorite horror villains. And a lot of you will be relieved to see that number 10 is in fact Mikey Myers. Good old Mikey Myers.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
Yes, Mikey Boy's franchise did not crack my top 10 horror franchises for a myriad of reasons that I don't want to or don't need to get into here. Just know that that is my honest opinion. But he did crack my top 10 horror villains. Although I don't know if I should celebrate that or not, because for some of you fuckers, number 10 is like negative 3,000. Doesn't mean anything. If it's not number 1, it's number 0.
Cut his fucking head off!
Number 10, Michael Myers. He's a great villain when he is utilized well, because he's basically the incarnate of evil. There's the whole blank slate of the mask to where it's just supposed to be faceless, shapeless evil. They call him the Shape. He's literally just a killing machine with no rhyme or reason. He just does because he does. And I like that. The less we need to know about our villains sometimes makes them that much more scary. That's why for me and a lot of other people, some of the extra explanation we got in the Rob Zombie movies was unnecessary and wasn't really the point of the character. I do have a lot of partiality to the original 1978 version of this character, and even though I have a lot of things negatively to say about the movie, I do love James Jude Courtney's version in Halloween 2018. Also loved him in Halloween 4 and 6. That was another really good version. I'm not as critical of the version in H2O that we got, although the eye thing, yeah, I hear ya. Regardless of all of the different levels of quality that we have gotten in the performances, in the utilizations, and of the masks, for sure, Michael Myers is a great slasher killer. He's a great villain, and I understand why, for the most part, a lot of people love him. That is their number 1. That is their boy. Not quite my boy, but he does make number 10. Number 9 is the only character on this list to follow me into my nightmares as a child, and that is Pennywise. Now, I have a lot of love for the original incarnation, the 1990 version with Tim Curry. That is the one that I grew up watching. That is the one that one of 2 characters, both Stephen King characters, ironically enough, actually gave me nightmares, and I was the type of kid that no horror movie ever gave me nightmares, so I've always had a bit of a soft spot in my heart for Pennywise because he was the one villain that could do that. He was the one villain that got me there. But I do just love the whole aesthetic of this character being this evil clown that is trying to draw children in, prey on their fears. It's a shapeshifter. It can enter your nightmares quite literally and figuratively by embodying anything that you do not like, anything that you're afraid of, anything that you have this reservations about, whether it be an abusive father or a werewolf in a movie that you saw or anything. I just love the whole sci-fi horror aspect of this character. I do really like Bill Skarsgård's version. It Chapter 2 does negatively affect this number. If It Chapter 2 is a better movie, or if I did this list after seeing It Chapter 1, this would probably be higher on this list. Yeah, turning him into a little puddle by calling him a clown, I'm not really digging that side of Pennywise, but he is a great villain. He's a scary villain, and he is the only one on this list to, yeah, fuck with me a little bit in the head. Number 9, Pennywise. Number 8 is the one on this list that has the most potential to go up, depending on how good his movie is next year. Assuming that we actually get it next year. Candyman. This is a character that I have probably some of the least experience with on this list. In fact, he might be definitively the one I had the least experience with. I did not watch the original Candyman. I did not watch any of the sequels. It was never a franchise that I really heard all that much good about, mostly because of the sequels. But a couple of years ago, me and some friends decided to all do collab reviews on Candyman. I bought the Shout Factory release of it, instantly fell in love with the original film. I think it's one of the best slashers, one of the most underrated horror movies ever, and I am chomping at the bit to see what this new reboot is going to be like with hopefully a returning Tony Todd, but most likely a new passing the torch Candyman. But nonetheless, the character of this tragic figure, of this guy that just wanted to have this love and wanted to be in this relationship, and the, racism of the time, people dragged him through the streets and cut his arm off and put a hook there and covered him with honey, and he got ate to death by bees and was dubbed the Candyman and became this curse. That is just a fucked up, badass backstory for a villain. Tragic, but badass. And I love the way that he looks with the hook and the robe, and god damn that Tony Todd voice.
Be my victim.
2 and 3 were absolute garbage. I still need to review 3, so spoiler alert, not a big fan, but I have very high hopes that this new one by Nia DaCosta is going to be great, is going to bring the character back to the greatness of the first film, or at least close to it, and hopefully kick off a brand new revived franchise to give Candyman even more of the glory that he deserves. But yeah, for a guy that so far I only like one of his films, I love this villain. Number 7. Boy, the Tall Man. I grew up watching Phantasm and Phantasm 2 constantly. I still have a little bit of enjoyment of the sequels, even the bad ones. They're definitely guilty pleasures after 2. But the first 2 movies are some of my favorite horror films of all time, and a big piece of that is because of the Tall Man. One of the most mysterious, hard to figure out, but just creepy and eerie villains in horror history. Just a regular looking dude who just happens to be a little bit taller than normal, in a black suit, has that little eye thing that he does, and it's the way that he talks. That performance by Angus Scrimm is what makes this character iconic. You never quite know what makes this guy tick. Is he an alien? Is he some kind of a interdimensional being? Why does he have control over all these spheres? How the fuck is he even doing that? Is it all telepathy, or is they like a hive mind thing? You never quite know. And unless we get some kind of a remake that decides to add rules, we might never know. You just, fill in your own adventure. However you feel like the explanation of Tall Man goes, we'll go with that. But it's the mysterious side of this guy is why I love him so much. I just love his presence in these movies. He's got some of the most awesome and just chilling lines in horror history for me. Like one of my favorites from Phantasm 2.
You think that when you die, you go to heaven. You come to us.
Love this character. So rest in peace, Angus Scrimm. I wish that we could have gotten a better close for this character and for this franchise. And if they ever do remake it, they're going to have some huge shoes to fill, but the Tall Man, easily one of my favorite horror villains of all time.
Boy.
Number 6, with cheese. That's right, guys. Shameless plug time. I have some friends that I want to introduce you guys to. So I've said a lot of times on some of our live shows / podcasts, if you're listening to the audio version, that I don't typically watch a lot of movie review channels in my free time because that spends so much of my headspace. I usually like to go off into other genres. I really love watching cooking reviews, cooking channels, food reviews, and one of my favorite channels that I've discovered over the past couple of months is Number 6 with Cheese. So their link's gonna be down below if you wanna check them out. Corey and Sean, very cool guys, very funny guys. There are a couple of comedians over in Chicago, Illinois that do food reviews.
We've said this, I feel like every time we have like a really good food, this always comes up. High quality ingredients.
Yeah, don't skimp.
Watch your language, by the way, for a second. Sean, that is like a 3-year-old girl who just learned her first cuss word.
These guys crank out content like crazy. It's like one video a day. Every time I blink, there's a new video from Corey and Sean. I enjoy the hell out of it. If you like watching food reviews especially, these guys go out and find everything from fast food to local spots to spots a couple of states over. Very cool guys. I've interacted with them here and there. I became a patron of theirs. They sent me this shirt. If you guys enjoy cooking channels, food review channels. Look no further. You will enjoy number 6 with cheese.
They did fat cuts of those bad boys.
3 C's.
So after you're done watching this video, I want you to click the link down below, go check out number 6 with cheese, check out Corey and Sean's channel, like the video that you watch, hit that damn subscribe button before you head out, and go down in the comment section and tell them that Cody Leach told you that their channel was delicious.
Oh my god.
Dude, this is so good.
But number 6 on my horror villain list is Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal the Cannibal. This is another character that is very multi-layered, has a lot of different incarnations, different performances by different actors, and quite honestly, it's the TV show here recently that I pray to God gets a 4th season that's like the Silence of the Lambs. Just give me that. I just want that one thing. Come on, just give me the Netflix gods. It was that incarnation on TV that bumped this up a little bit. I've always liked the character, but I've never liked all of the movies. I think Silence of the Lambs is brilliant, one of the best ever. I enjoy Red Dragon for its flaws. Never really got into Manhunter too much because I saw that later on, and it's weird to watch a movie that's not Anthony Hopkins. And Hannibal, never really been a fan. So I've always had a rocky relationship with this character, but it's that iconic performance by Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs, paired with Mads Mikkelsen's performance throughout the 3 seasons of Hannibal, that has made me fall in love with this character and just want more of him. Whether it's a new movie, a new incarnation, a new actor, or the Netflix gods give me my wish and give me a Netflix season 4 of the Hannibal TV show, this is just an awesome character because he's just so charming and he's just got this presence to him to where he just looks like a guy you want to hang out with, but like, keep an extra eye on him because you don't want to end up as dinner. You never quite know what makes him tick. You never quite know where his motivations are. Is he on your side? Is he on the good side? Is he trying to manipulate somebody? He is so multi-layered, hard to figure out, and just such a complex character that I think he's fascinating. He's scary as hell when he wants to be. He's charming and inviting as hell as he wants to be.
Tell me, what did Miggs say to you? Multiple Miggs in the next cell. He hissed at you. What did he say?
He said, I can smell your cunt.
I see. I myself cannot.
You want to run from him and party with him at the same time. That's awesome. Number 6 is Hannibal Lecter. Number 5 is your boy Jason Voorhees. Yes, another one of these slasher Mount Rushmore characters that I did not give a nod to in my top 10 horror franchises. If you guys have been paying attention, if you watched all my Friday the 13th reviews, you know that I do enjoy a good amount of those movies for what they are, but I've never been a huge Friday the 13th fan as far as the films. For me, glorified B-movie franchise. It's great for what it is, not particularly my favorite. But Jason Voorhees has always been one of my favorite slasher villains. Always been one of the coolest looking villains. Always been one of those guys that just, his iconic look sticks in your head. When you think of slasher, most of us, including me, regardless if he's number 1 or not, usually think of Jason first. For some reason, that guy just breathes killing motherfuckers. It's almost to the point where a hockey mask is less synonymous with the sport of hockey and more synonymous with this big bastard carrying around a machete. He's awesome. He's got a very cool, kind of creepy, kind of tragic backstory about this young boy that drowned in this camp. Mommy went a little batshit, had a little bloody carnage herself, and then he has come back as this revenge curse. You can view him as just this incarnate of evil if you want. You can view him as this revenge character that's trying to kill all these evil, sex-having, pot-smoking, drinking teenagers that killed him back when he was a kid, or you can view him as quite literally the embodiment of this death curse that just surrounds this camp like a gray fog. And all of those different layers for a character that is very simple makes him cool, makes him stand the test of time to the point where, regardless how many Halloween movies we get, or Freddy Krueger movies we get, everybody in the horror community is always chomping at the bit for the next Jason movie. I mean, fan films have exploded because of this character. Yes, there's Michael Myers fan films, there's a Freddy one on the way, there's some other ones that are from different franchises, but every time I blink, it seems like there's a new Friday the 13th fan film because people are so passionate about this character, and there's a reason why. He's a big bad motherfucker that looks awesome, kills efficiently, and he is my number 5. Number 4 is Annie Wilkes from Misery. Yes, this might surprise a few people because most of the time when you see top 10 horror villains, you see all the slasher villains. You see Leatherface and Freddy and Jason and Michael and Pinhead and fucking Jigsaw nowadays. Ugh, he's not on this top 10, is he? Number 4, Annie Wilkes for me is one of the scariest horror villains and one of the most underrated horror villains. Misery is one of my favorite films of all time. Needless to say, that's the reason why it's on this list and it's so high. Annie Wilkes is this character to where throughout the entire movie, you slowly just peel back the onion of how batshit fucked up this lady is, how much her obsession just consumes her, and how really evil she is regardless how friendly and unimposing and non-threatening she seems from the outside. I mean, throughout the film, she seems like this nice, sweet little kooky country lady that's gonna help out our main character, and oh, isn't that sweet? She's also a fan of his. They're gonna bond, and oh shit, this bitch is crazy.
In the bank, do I tell Mrs. Bollinger, oh, here's one big bastard of a check. Give me some of your Christing money? There, look there. See what you made me do?
I mean, from locking this dude away, to making him burn his book, to forcing him to write a novel to her liking, as if she's some kind of Greek god fucking novelist, and hobbling the dude's ankles whenever she finds out that he's been trying to get away. Finally, when you get to towards the end and he finds out that she was murdering babies in this hospital, which is like, if you're gonna say somebody's evil, murdering babies is like instantly to the top of the list. Oh, she did that? Yeah. Fuck her. There's just something weird and off-kilter about her. Even though the more evil she gets throughout the movie, she still has that kind of kooky, sweet side to her where, you know, she's saying cock-a-doodle and she won't curse, and, you know, she's trying to go out and get the paper for him and then gets pissed off that he wants the other paper, and he invites her to dinner and she's like, oh, Paul.
Trust me.
God's sake.
It's for the best.
Eddie, please.
I mean, there's no explanation needed for why that woman won the Oscar that year. Kathy Bates delivered one of the greatest horror icons ever, what is still my favorite performance of her career in a long list of outstanding performances, and just, she gave the world Annie Wilkes, and Annie Wilkes gave us Kathy Bates. We win no matter what. Number 3, speaking of batshit crazy, Norman Bates. Now this is a character that, much like Candyman, until the past couple of years, I never really had a ton of experience with him. I had seen the original Psycho, I had seen bits of some of the sequels, I knew just about everything I figured you needed to know about this character, that his mom died, he's got a split personality, he acts like he's his mom, he murders in her name, all that stuff. I was like, oh, I get this guy, I get this character. You watch the actual series from start to finish, and you find out how multi-layered, how complicated, and how sympathetic this character really is. Add in the TV series Bates Motel, and much like Hannibal, that rose this number quite a bit, because I think Freddie Highmore's version of the character and this modern take on the character really does rival what we got out of Anthony Perkins. Granted, hard to measure both. You have 5 seasons with this guy, you have 4 films with this guy, but 2 different versions of the character in 2 different eras, and they both have the same greatness as far as what a villain can accomplish.
Sometimes, when she talks to me like that, I feel I'd like to go up there and curse her and leave her forever. Or at least defy her. But I know I can't.
Much like Annie Wilkes, non-threatening, unimposing, normal enough, maybe a little kooky, maybe a little bit childlike, and that's kind of the brilliance of the Anthony Perkins side of things, is that he's so innocent and so sheltered that it's like, this guy, he could never do anything wrong. He wouldn't hurt a fly, like the end of the movie says. But then you realize, oh, mom's dead, she's in his head, and this bitch doesn't like anybody coming around her golden boy Norman. And especially for me, Psycho 2 really just shows how multi-layered this character is, to where you take a guy who seems unimposing, becomes this terrifying, iconic villain in the original Alfred Hitchcock classic. You get to Psycho 2, and it flips the script and makes him the protagonist of the film, and makes you doubt the entire time whether or not we're supposed to be rooting for this guy, or we should be scared shitless of what he is capable of. And just the whole journey that he goes on in 2, and then what kind of backsplashes into 3 and 4 with the society that he is in, the town that he's in, not able to cope with the fact that this guy is not a killer anymore, and pushing him right back into madness. It's just a brilliant character, brilliant performances on both sides, the small screen and the big screen. and he's become one of my favorite horror villains that, give it a couple years, let Bates Motel have its legacy for a while, but I would be very excited to hear about a new incarnation of this character in the Psycho series. And before we get to our top 2, guys, I just want to remind you, please check out my Patreon link down below if you want to join in on these Patreon pick videos, and be sure to like and share and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy it. Liking and sharing has so much effect on how well these videos do, you have no idea. So if you enjoy it, please help me out by doing that, and leave me a comment down below and let me know what your top 10 horror villains are. And if you're mad about Mikey Myers at number 10, fuck it, tell me down below. I like fun. My top 2. Now, all of my loyal little minions out here know exactly what my top 2 are going to be. And yes, it is going to mirror a video I did recently very much. But it might surprise you the order. Number 2 is actually going to be Chucky. Now, as much as I said in the last video that the Child's Play series is a better, more consistent, and more quality series overall, I do have Chucky at number 2. And I'll get into all the reasons why whenever I talk about my number 1. But Chucky is one of my favorite villains because this is the guy that introduced me to horror. I will always have a place in my heart for Chucky because of that. Child's Play 3 was what made me a horror fan, and the reason that I'm talking to all of you right now. Chucky gave you me. But what I love about this character is not only just the visual of him, especially when you get to Bride and he's all scarred up. I love that look, and I had to buy the doll. That's why I had the doll in the last video, because that's a bucket list thing for me. Chucky is so unabashedly evil. There is no sympathizing with this guy. There is no multi-layer, there's nothing like that. This guy is evil as fuck. This is a guy that was a murderer, a serial killer, the Strangler, the Lakeshore Strangler. And then he gets his body put into a doll so that he can continue living and continue killing. And even though this whole series is about his struggle to get back into a human body, you kind of know that he enjoys the fact that he's a little doll that can get away with killing a bunch of motherfuckers and nobody will believe him. It's kind of like that old saying about the devil's greatest trick was, convincing the world that he didn't exist. Well, Chucky's greatest trick is convincing parents that he didn't exist and that Andy's a crazy little fuck and doesn't know what he's talking about. Meanwhile, carnage, bloodbath everywhere. They even acknowledge it in Seed of Chucky. I hate mentioning that fucking movie, but at least in there, he actually owns up to it. He's like, shit, I'm the killer doll, bitch. I love this shit. And I love it too. Chucky is the man. Chucky is among my favorite, and though it is a razor-thin difference, he comes in at number 2. Oh, and did I mention the one-liners? I need to talk about the one-liners. Chucky has some of the greatest, if not the greatest, one-liners in horror history. So yes, he's scary, yes, he's badass, yes, he's awesome, but he's also a funny son of a bitch. Speaking of funny and one-liners, I'm going to forget about that side of the character for a minute and tell you about my number 1, which is, in fact, Freddy Krueger. A Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my favorite horror series. It has always been. I mean, Chucky introduced me to horror. Freddy just solidified my love for horror. And it's just something about the character, from the look, to the laugh, to the performance by Robert Englund, to the utilization of the character, to this whole thing about he can get you in your dreams, so there's no way you can run from him. You can run from Jason all day long. Sorry, Friday the 13th fans, but your boy could get outrun a little bit, okay? You could get away from him if you were strategic enough. Michael Myers, same thing, even more so. Freddy, run all you want. You're just gonna make yourself more tired and be even quicker to be in his fucking knived grasp. Anytime somebody asks me who's the most powerful villain, who's the scariest villain, who's the most evil villain, who's the most interesting villain, the answer to all of those for me personally has always been Freddy Krueger. This guy who used to violate and murder children, who was put to death by the parents, comes back as this revenge dream demon and just lays waste to everybody that has come from those parents. That's just such a twisted, fucked up concept that Wes Craven, rest in peace, is a genius for bringing this character, this concept, and this movie series to life. So Freddy Krueger, Freddy and Chucky, razor thin, but Freddy has always been my number 1, and he's still my number 1. So what do you guys think? What are your top 10 horror villains? Let me know down in the comment section below. Be sure to check out my Patreon page. Be sure to check out number 6 with cheese, please. Let them know Cody sent you over there. And as always, guys, like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. And remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be. Right, Halloween fans?